Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Nursing Uncharted, the podcast that discovers uncharted territory within your nursing practice. I'm Maggie Reichard. I am a medical ICU nurse. I'm a mom to a 15-month-old. I'm probably about 25 weeks pregnant when this episode comes out with my second daughter. And I'm your host for this podcast. I've been the host of this podcast for almost 3 years now. When we started, it's amazing that it's been 3 years. 3 years of different specialties, unique conversations, 3 years of honing my craft as an active listener and as a host, 3 years of connecting with you all and getting to hear where you are in your career, getting to answer questions about specialties and figure things out with you so that you can seek out your best nursing life. It's been an honor. It truly has. What a gift I've been given to be the switchboard between you and the endless possibilities of nursing careers ahead of you. Getting to have conversations with other nurses that positively influence our nursing practice. On our New Year's episode, I sat down with a friend of mine, a fellow pregnant mom nurse trying to do all the things, and we talked about our year. And we really analyzed our years. We took a look at our calendars from last year and, figured out what held the most space in our lives. And after that exercise on New Year's, I had to face the fact that my life is shifting. Our family is expanding. I am expanding as an increasingly pregnant woman. And I'm in a season where I need to focus on myself and narrow my focus and invest my time into what matters most to me, which is my family and my well-being. And in doing that, I am lightening my load of priorities. I'm hanging up some of my hats, and one of them being the podcast host for Nursing Uncharted. It's a decision that was not an easy one to make, but despite the difficulty, it feels like the right decision. I preach self-care and taking care of ourselves and, blocking out the noise in your life to focus on what's important. And yet when I was faced with the daily choice of taking care of myself or continuing to juggle these plates, the answer was always to juggle the plates. I never considered any other option. So I have to take my own advice and eat what I'm serving to others. As much as I love being the host, I have a duty to myself and my family to take care of myself first and realign my priorities. It took that exercise for me to realize what held a significant amount of space in my life. What challenged my priorities was not my health, not my marriage, my daughter, my friends, but it was the podcast. My calendar was half work. I still work 3/12s full time. Half vetting guests, doing episodes, having meetings, so much energy spent into making this platform what it is, which I hope speaks to how much this podcast means to me. It's been such a gift to get to do this, to have a front row seat to watch and promote real change that's happening in the profession, positive change. And I connected with old nursing school buddies. I processed trauma during COVID and relived some of my recorded accounts on this podcast. We've got a COVID episode that is probably one of the most personal ones out of the all 65 episodes that we did. It's so painfully honest and it's hard for me to listen to. But I feel so grateful that I had a platform where I could timestamp my thoughts and feelings during that time. And I learned so much from this podcast. I never knew what flight nursing was like, what PACU was like, endoscopy, interventional radiology, how to be an NP. We got a taste of all these different specialties. We've had guests on that are just huge catalysts for positive change in the profession. Some of my favorites, because the positive change was so palpable, was Dr. Mary Hanks. She's the dean of a school in West Alabama, and she revamped her nursing program She listened to the needs of her students, who were some of them come from some of the poorest counties in the U.S., and titrated her program to fit their needs, took away their textbooks, and she increased their NCLEX scores from 70% to 100%. She and her team have completely opened up opportunities for diverse populations to enter the workforce that were not there before. And another one was Morgan Melancon from St. Jude. They have a unorthodox nurse residency program that focuses on fitting new nurses to units that are right for them through a matching process similar to residencies. And after the first 2 years, no nurses left their jobs. 100% retention rate. No contracts, nothing keeping them there, but nobody left or even changed units. I mean, these people are incredible. And it was an honor to share their stories in hopes of inspiring further change. It's been an honor. You know, when AMN found me, they wanted to create something together that inspired nurses, something that shared the real and raw stories of nurses, and we did that. Most of our guests had never even been on podcasts before. And sometimes that was the hardest battle, was validating to a guest that they are exactly who we are looking for. You know, I think that it's common for us to feel like people won't have an interest in what we have to say. And this podcast proves that that isn't true. It shows us just how important our voices are to those around us if we are brave enough to talk. So I want to thank each and every guest that we have ever had on. Thank you for your bravery and for your perspectives. It has really made this podcast what it is. I want to thank AMN for wanting to get into this podcast space in the first place and giving me so much free reign to help carry out the vision I had in this podcast. Thank you to Katie and to Jonathan and Sam. This was our brainchild. You guys were just as passionate about this as I was, and I felt that. I felt your pride when we'd hit a milestone and the excitement with new ideas, and it was just really a pleasure working with you all. So I think about how this podcast has shaped my own career, and I've listened to all these different specialties, and it makes me think about what do I want to do when I grow up? And, you know, I've always joked that I could see myself as a bedside nurse for 30 years. I'll be that 60-year-old nurse who isn't fazed by anything and just goes about her day at a pace that nobody understands and nobody bothers her. And I joke about that because most people are probably like, who would want to do that? Because if I do that, you know, is that a conscious decision, or is that me just choosing to not make a decision with my life? You know, and does that mean that I didn't live up to my full potential by staying at the bedside? And I think these thoughts pose the question of, how do we measure success in our careers? Like, at what point can you say, I did it, I was successful? You know, I really struggle with this. I have so many avenues in which I can take my career. You know, I could go back to school and be an NP, a CNS, a CRNA, a midwife. You know, I've thought about all the avenues. I could go into management. I've been told I'd be good at that. I could, you know, go back to podcasting. I could dive into podcasting and be a voice and positive change and influence for bedside nurses. But when I think about those avenues, I'm frozen, to be perfectly honest. Unpopular opinion, but I like where I'm at. I'm proud of where I work. You know, I make a difference on the unit that I'm working on, and I'm happy with how much I make. I work with other nurses that I truly respect and hold each other accountable, that make me want to be a better nurse. And I am given a lot of respect from, you know, interns, residents, NPs, other colleagues that I work with, which can be rare. You know, I like where I'm at. And I struggle with that because I go back to the question, how do I measure my career? If I don't seek out working at the top of my license, is that success? If I walk away from our podcast that we have created, was it successful? How do we measure success in our careers? Maybe it is meeting specific goals. Maybe it is working at the top of your license and making the most money that you can possibly make. But maybe it's just being happy where you're at. Finding that place. Maybe you don't have a plan, but you just want to work to live. The first time I watched the Barbie movie, and I apologize if anybody just rolled their eyes, but stay with me. And I hope I'm not spoiling anything because it's been out for forever. But at the end of the movie, Margot Robbie is reflecting on her own aspirations for what she wants to do in the real world. And she says something along the lines of, she doesn't really want to be anything extravagant. She just wants to be ordinary because there is such a pressure on her to be something, to be extraordinary. And that really resonated with me in a sense that I wanted to be okay to be satisfied with where I am and what I have in my life. I don't have to be chasing a carrot for 50 years in order to feel accomplished. I think in our culture today, we can get so caught up in the ambition of endless possibilities and the pressure and expectation that comes with that we forget that the option to be happy with less is an option. And this isn't to prevent someone from wanting more with their life. I think it's just me saying that the way that you measure success in your career will look different than your peers. It will. I feel accomplished in that over the last 10 years, I have grown up immensely. From 21 to 31, I went from scared and frustrated and anxious in my job to calm and confident and capable. I traveled for 4 years, which was a big measurement of success in my career, being a traveler. And I learned that I have everything I need within myself to be successful in this job. That you can change the environment, the EMR, the team, the specialty, but the relationship between a nurse and their patients and the drive to take care of people, to connect with others and to do your job well, that remains rooted and universal, and you never lose that. I left travel nursing with the knowledge, not the belief, but the knowledge that I can do anything. That's success. And when I went back to a permanent position, I had a choice to make. Where was I going to go? I could seek a great work-life balance and go outpatient, or I could enhance my critical thinking skills and learn ICU nursing. And I chose to do ICU, which was another big measurement of success for me. My goals in life have changed, but I've never wanted to live to work. And I love shift work for that reason. I always want my family and friends and my mental health to be the forefront in my life. And I work to achieve that. So for now, at least, I'm really happy as a bedside nurse. And I have aspirations to be charged to climb the clinical ladder, So I'll continue to measure success in those ways. But I don't feel that pressure to go back to school. I think that's someone else's measurement of success. The way that you measure success in your career will look different than your peers. And if you meet those goals that you set for yourself, whatever they may be, you should be very, very proud. Because you are where you are now because of your drive, your motivation, your intuition to propel your life in a certain direction. Be proud of that. Never stop acknowledging where you've been and how far you've come. We get so caught up in our ambitions that we don't stop and appreciate where we are and where we've gotten ourselves. As I look back on Nursing Uncharted, I see nothing but success. I'm just proud. I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish and conversations that we were able to have. And I hope that it helps people find their passion by understanding what's out there. I hope that it was informative and inspiring, and I hope it lives forever on these platforms or even evolves as AMN sees fit and continues to guide you in the right direction for yourself. There are many more uncharted conversations to be had within our nursing practice, and I encourage you to seek out those conversations and start them for yourself. The nursing profession for you is out there, but you have to have the courage to go out and find it. So please stay curious, be humble, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And hold on hope for the future of nursing and for your part in it. Find your niche, and always, always remember to take care of yourself. Thank you guys so much, and best of luck to you. That brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for tuning in to Nursing Uncharted. To learn more about today's episode, make sure to explore the show notes at americanmobile.com/nursinguncharted. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a guest. If you're a nurse interested in traveling, visit americanmobile.com to explore the largest database of travel nursing jobs in the industry and the amazing benefits that American Mobile has to offer. Also, a special thanks to producer Jonathan Carey, assistant producers Katie Schraubman and Sam McKay, and Aiden Dykes for the music and editing. Until next time, take care of yourself.